Good morning, guys. It's 6 o'clock this morning. It is my birthday, and I said I was going to start my story today. I figured why not go back to the beginning, where it all started. Everything, that's best place to go to get a good story out is start at the beginning. I was born exactly 45 years ago today, and it was a Tuesday as well, just like it is today. Two young teen parents, both, into drugs and things like that. My biological dad was abusive to my mother. I mean, so much so he set her face on fire in front of me when I was about a year old. Um, at two, she met, divorced him, married my stepdad that quick. Um, it was tumultuous to say the least. They were married though 18 years. That's the only dad I've ever known. When you hear some of the stuff, and be like, how can you ever forgive a man like this? But my stepdad was brutally abusive to me from the time I was two until I went into the military. And there was very few times that he wasn't, and this was daily. And when I mean brutally abusive, I mean there was times where, you know, he would whip my ass with a belt so bad that it would cut me. There's a time in fourth grade I can remember that I was, you know, so bad that I couldn't sit down for almost a month. I had to sit on one of those iced donuts, um, things like that. There was times that he would use his fists. Sometimes he'd use whatever he could pick up. Um, and this is what I endured. A lot of it was due to I didn't want him to. I, I saw him hit my mother one time just shortly when she got pregnant with my younger brother and blacked both her eyes. I think I was like 7 years old, and I went after him with a baseball bat, and of course, I got the shit beat out of me. My sister was just young as well, um, but that was my mother. We'd went through a lot together, so I tried to protect her, but I also didn't want him hitting my brother and sister. So largely, a lot of my abuse was taking what he'd get mad at one of them, and I'd kind of cover for them. It was me. I did it, they didn't. Or they didn't do their chores. No, it was my fault. I told them to go play that I would do it, or things like that. I covered for them a lot, just trying to protect them, protect my mom, because as long as he was hitting me, he wasn't hitting them. Um, and that was my big thing. Um, Later on in life, yes, I did forgive my dad. I understood that, because the things he did to me, yes, as though they were wrong. They showed me just how strong I was, and it was preparing me for a life that I entered, that would have and should have, and people tried to, take my life and couldn't get it done because of who I am, and how what I know, and just there was different factors. But needless to say, I can remember at least 67 hospital visits before I was 16 years old. Now, that's not all hospital stays, there's ER visits. Sometimes, I've had to have my, the swelling, pulled off my brain, or, have what they do is they kind of put you out and they tap into your skull a little bit so you can, let the swelling come down out of your brain, because he'd kick my head in, to the cabinets or something. So for, sometimes what seemed like 10 to 15 minutes, it seemed forever to me, but at a young age, I started blocking things out because of that stuff. I'd take myself to another place. I'm very spiritual, and I had spiritual beings there to protect me as well, believe it or not. And all these things played a factor in my life. I started drug use at a young age because of this. Like as early as 12 years old, it was just marijuana then. But by the time 3 years later, would be doing cocaine, meth, heroin, anything I could get my hands on, anything to get high, to remove what was going on, because I couldn't escape it. That was my reality. Um, I remember there was a time that I had dropped some groceries because I was trying to carry in all the groceries because my mom had just been out like 4 hours shopping for there was five of us, and did the whole month's shopping at one time, so she was already worn out after working that day. Um, Still had to come home and make dinner for everybody, and I was carrying in the groceries. Well, back then we only had paper bags, and I dropped one of the bags and he was sleeping in the chair, and he said, "You did that on purpose." I said, "No, I didn't." Well, I ended up going in the house and, smoking a doob or whatever and getting really super ripped. and he came out and he was calling my name or something because he wanted to ask me to do something. I didn't do it because I was carrying in the groceries or whatever. He pounded my head so bad that I swelled up, and it was hard to even see my face. I mean, just black and blue everywhere, and I didn't feel a thing till the next day. Okay, I mean, it was really that bad because it was. I mean, he hit me like I was a grown man from the time I was 2 years old. I mean, it didn't matter to him. I was, if I was gonna get hit, I was gonna get hit proper. So, um, this is the type of person I grew up with. Now, mind you, my parents did the best they could for what they knew. You know, my stepdad didn't have kids before he met my mom. So he's coming into a relationship with a child that's not his. He doesn't know how to react. It does not excuse it by any means. Okay, nothing he did was good. Okay, back then. That was our relationship, though. So later in life, I developed a bond to it. Like if he was actually there was times he was actually nice and good to me. I didn't know how to handle it. When those times, or if he didn't pay me no mind at all, if those things happen, I would provoke something. I would go out and do something stupid or retarded to get purposely caught. And I realize this now, but I didn't realize it back then. So all these things were starting to shape up for what my life would be later in life. Okay, but it had a huge impact on my drug use because my parents, I don't blame them for my drug use. They were open about drugs with us. They always told us that, if you want to do drugs, come do them with us because we know what's safe for you and what's not going to kill you. We'd rather you not. And they did tell us we'd rather you not, but we cannot tell you not to do drugs when we do them. So they were very open about that. And I feel fortunate because there's so many people that don't get taught about the dangers of these things and ended up dying at a young age. Okay. And anybody can, you know what, I'm allowing comments on this, but please do not say anything to the negative about how people raise their kids or what they do because the information, the things my parents knew, and it kept me safe, actually, believe it or not. It wasn't right. No, I know it wasn't right. That's not how I never, wanted my kids to do drugs either. I never had that in front of them. So, and I never would have. But today's kids are different than we were back then. I'm from Gen X. It was a way different lifestyle. I mean, I took care of my brother and sister, cooked on the stove and fed my sister, changed my brother's diapers when my parents worked opposite 7 to 7 shifts at 8 years old. Okay. And I did this consistently throughout the whole summer. And, when we were in school, it was a little different, but I would still get them up for school. I'd make sure they got ready. I'd get us, where we needed to be. So, therefore, you know, I didn't have a childhood from a young age. I really didn't. I had to be an adult. I was treated as an adult. Now, mind you, I was as smart as some adults. I was, third grade, they wanted me to move me to fifth grade. And seventh grade, they wanted me to move me to high school. My parents would not let them. So that kind of hindered me a little bit for challenging me. And ultimately, when I got to high school, I started skipping school a lot and things like that. And my drug use even excelled, and drinking excelled more then. But I do not blame my parents for my drug use. At 15 years old, I knew, you know, right from wrong. I knew that drugs could be bad. And I knew when I decided to do them that I was old enough to make that choice. Okay? Nobody forced it on me. I made that choice. And at 15, I mean, people are going to the military and going to war at 18. Okay? 15 to 18 is not much difference in maturity. I'm telling you right now, there's not a lot of difference in maturity. So, therefore, it was my choice. I don't blame my parents. But y'all have a good day. Stay tuned for part two. All right, have a good one.